Okay, YouTube, it is Sunday, January 21st, 2017, of course. Hope everybody had a happy New Year and a good Christmas. I know it's kind of late, but haven't made any videos since before that time. And we're finally getting back to the Torino. If you remember, I was just going to kind of get rid of some crappy fuel lines I had on it and stuff. I can't even remember what I said I was going to do in the video, but I ended up doing a bunch of extra stuff that I didn't plan on, but something I've been wanting to do for a while and just decided to go ahead and do it while I've got it apart. As you can see, we have a stock fuel tank in this now. Something I've been wanting to switch back to, get rid of the fuel cell. If you remember, it had a fuel cell in it, so I can have some trunk room, carry a spare tire and all that good stuff. And we have replumbed it with better fuel lines. My old 3/8 aluminum fuel line was not bent very well, had crimps, didn't look too good. And we went ahead and ordered all new fittings, or fittings that I needed. Some of them already had. And new braided steel ptfe 10AN fuel lines. We're also now running a return system on this too, meaning the regulator, it has a return line on it. That way it keeps that gets air bubbles and air pockets out of your fuel system, because the return line evacuates that back to the tank. But anyway, I got the stock fuel tank in. I had the stock sending unit, which I believe is going to work. I'll tell you a little bit about that later on my fuel gauge. I did that because the stock line is only 5/16 ID. I think it's going to be big enough, but I'm using it for the return line. And the actual feed line, I drilled a hole and put this tank bung in it. I just screwed it in, and I have a nut on the other side which fits this actual 10AN fitting. And I use fuel tank sealer to kind of keep it locked in place, almost like a thread locker. And it's from when I tried it, it's sealed up and it's good. I actually had it together and running, but I had to order a new filter because the top of mine had cracked because I over tightened this. It's best to use a thread sealer so that you don't have to really crank it down to keep it from leaking, which I didn't to begin with, but I did get a new filter. Actually, it's the same bottom of the Fram filter. This is just a cheap copy of the Fram filter, but it's the same thing. Hopefully this won't leak. I haven't tried it yet. And as you can see, I've got my 10AN ptfe lines run neatly down the frame. I have, see if you can see them. Oh, come on, camera, focus. Can't see it because of the shock. But I have some rubber insulated wire looms, or actual to hold the fuel line in place. I think you can, yeah, you can see that black one right there. I have them holding everything in place so that it doesn't sag. Everything. Oh, sorry about the camera going upside down and shaky. As you can see, I ran it all the way up to the front. So it's all new fuel line, and it is ptfe, which means it is resistant to any ethanol that may be in your fuel. Whether it's regular pump gas, which has a little bit, or if you're running E85 like I occasionally do, it is resistant to that, whereas the regular rubber lined steel braided line supposedly is not. Now this is still the regular old rubber line here. I bought everything I need to redo that, just not going to do it yet. I want to get it running, because so far I've had no trouble with it. I've inspected those, they still look good. So maybe E85 is not as corrosive as some people claim to be. I'm not sure, but I haven't had any trouble yet. But there's a return style filter. It's a Mallory filter, which matches the pump I have. And really, all that's left to do is put some fuel in it. And I do need to, I do need to make a brace. If you see my fuel pump and fuel canister mount, it would be okay like it is, but I want to stiffen it up. As you can see, I can move it around. There is my brace. I need to tighten the bolts up here. There's some spacers under it, and I'm also going to have to make a spacer and drill a hole right there, and that will kind of, and then I'll run a bolt through that with the spacer, and that will stiffen that up a lot. So we're going to do that first, fill it up with fuel. Hopefully it won't leak. Let's see, the fuel pump is wired up. Good deal. And the other thing I have done, as you can see, I painted the bottom of the tank, but left the top just, it's regular color. It shouldn't rust. It's coated. And I have a trunk mat that hopefully will look decent here. And I put a different battery mount in it. This looks a lot better than the plastic one I had that was just not a very good mounting job. And I need to make a cover for this later on, but we don't have to do that now. It's not like I'm going to the racetrack and getting it inspected. I just put around on the street in this car. But anyway, we're going to put that reinforcement bracket on and fill it up and see if it leaks. Okay, we got everything together. Got my brace bolted up, and as you can see, it's a lot more rigid than it was. Move around a little bit there, but at least it won't be shaking around loose. I still need to tie up my wires. I've got about 4 gallons of fuel in it, and it looks like my thread sealer is sealing up on my plug. That pipe plug, the insert or bung that I welded into the tank, I also used some fuel tank epoxy to make sure that the weld actually sealed. Plus I just kind of smoothed it out with sandpaper. Looks okay. Not perfect, but okay. Anyway, the bung is a little shallow, and so the pipe plug wants to go all the way through if you were to tighten it enough. And to ensure that it's sealed, plus I used the same sealer on this. I used the thread sealer, and what I was trying to say is to make sure it's sealed, I used the thread sealer on this. Same stuff that I used on these fittings. And here it is. Hopefully everything else will seal up too. Like I said, I've put the fuel in it, but I have not turned the pump on so that it will draw the fuel up into the fuel canister. Hopefully my new fuel canister with the old bottom and the new top will seal up. It looked like they match. It just looks like the bottom just seemed to be a better cup on the old filter compared to the new, because the new one had a sharp edge on it that I didn't like. Hopefully that matches up and seals. We're getting ready to find out. I've got my battery turned on, and we'll just turn it on before we attempt to start it. And if you notice, my dash is all taken out. That's because a few weeks back, before I caught the flu, that's why this project has been sitting here for so long. I put a new heater core in it, did not make a video of it, and I also bought me another gauge cluster because my circuit map for the dash lights were very dim. I found a used one that I hopefully will work better. We'll do that in a different video. But let's go ahead and turn that on. I got all this taken out. See if we get fuel pressure. It's slowly creeping up. That thing should come up faster than that. Let's make sure we're not pumping fuel everywhere. I don't see anything. Yeah, that should have come up faster than that. I know the last time I put it together with my leaky fuel canister, it picked it right up. This time, it's not doing it for some reason. Only showing a pound. You would think. I don't smell any fuel, so. Yeah, that thing should have picked it right up. It did last time. Don't know what could have happened. Let's pause the video here. Okay, we got fuel pressure now. I didn't really do anything. I just flicked the pump on and off a couple times. I guess it had to get a big air pocket out of it. Like I said, it was an empty filter, so I guess that's what it was. But let's see if it comes right back up. Oh yeah, we got it. Now this is what I like about the return style fuel pressure regulator that I showed you earlier in this video. You notice the gauge isn't bouncing around and everything. When you have just a regular fuel pressure regulator with no fuel return, you get the air can't escape. That fuel return, it kind of gets that air out of it and pumps it back into the tank. Of course, it goes out the vent tube, but it just gets all the air bubbles and pockets out of your fuel line. And usually, without it, with the new fuel system, say like you put all your new fuel lines on, all the lines and filters are empty. What happens is you'll have that gauge bouncing around, and it's hard to get your fuel pressure adjusted right at first until all of it will eventually work itself out. But with this return regulator, it's as soon as you get that pump to sucking gas, your gauge is good and solid like you see right there right away. So before I start it up, make sure everything's out of the way. Like I said, it's been about 3 weeks since I've been out here fooling around, so make sure I didn't forget anything. There's something I forgot. They would not have started very well with the towel on top of the carburetor, now would it? And we don't want that styrofoam to fall in there. And the reason that styrofoam is there is because I had to dig around up there. Some guy was asking me for some parts that he supposedly borrowed to see if he fit his Torino, but I haven't seen him in 2 months. And he better bring them back. But anyway, I had to break up some old white styrofoam and I replaced it. And it all fell down all over the car. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's see how she starts. Everything should be good. Well, I guess I'd better turn the pump on one more time. Check for leaks before I start it. Because I do not have... Because once I get it started up, I don't really want to lay under the car or hang around it much in the garage. Because with just regular fuel, this thing's jetted kind of rich. And really hard on the old sinuses. I don't see any leaks. Good deal. I think I still need to take some wire ties and maybe secure my fuel line here so that doesn't bounce around up there. Yeah, see how that could make a noise, I guess. Yeah, that's where this is your return line. That's your fuel trying to pump in through there. I'm hoping that small 5/16 line is big enough. They recommend your return line to be as big as your feed line, but I guess that's better than no return. Hopefully that won't cause any problems. I may have to install a bigger return inlet too, because this is kind of pumping it down to the bottom of the tank, because this is the original fuel outlet for if the car was stock with a tiny little steel line. I do see that line shaking around. I don't know if it's because of that or just because it's not mounted securely, but I don't see any leaks. That's what I'm looking for while I'm blabbing. Looks like that fuel sealer I showed you works good. I didn't have to over tighten my fittings and break anything. This thing would have been together by now if I hadn't broken that. But yeah, we'll be tying that together there and up there. I don't want to put any fuel line hangers up there because the screw would be sticking up through the trunk. Just don't want to do that. Let's see, what else did I do? I also, I noticed my exhaust pipe had become loose and was hitting my shock, so I loosened that clamp up and adjusted all that. I can hear that fuel circulating around in there because it's pumping out into the bottom of the tank. Like I said, we'll have to drive it, which won't be today, to make sure that's all okay. Well, let's see how she starts. Shouldn't be no trouble. This car usually starts good. And like I said, no instrument cluster. washer bounced a little bit after I started it. Good deal. Make sure all my bug wires are on it. It's kind of a little rough. That's because it hadn't been started a long time. Not super duper cold today either. So. Good deal. Smell that sweaty condensation on the header since it's been sitting for so long. Okay. And make sure I did secure all my fuel lines. Yeah, I put a holder there. That can't really find its way near the header. They want to be sure of that. No leaks here. That is looking good. Fuel pressure was, I did get to adjust the fuel pressure when I started it up about a month ago, I guess. But I had the cracked filter on it. Heck yeah, we need to let this thing warm up. And still a little cold, needs to be warmed up. Car needs to be driven. Been apart, plus it's been apart since heck, late summer. Remember when I started that video and never finished the series? That was late summer. Like August, I think, maybe early, I don't know. Good deal. Turn my fan on. It's not warm enough for the fans to kick on, but all right. Good old motor. This engine's been together since the 80s. I bought it in 88 from a guy who had already built it, which I haven't driven it that much. Probably only put about 3,000 miles on this car. And all right, looks like we got a fuel system that hopefully it doesn't leak. Oops, I'm in gear. That's dangerous. I forgot when I was in here taking the dash apart. That's why I sounded. Yeah, it sounded like something was kind of dragging it down. I mean, compared to what it usually is like being in park. That's why I was turning the wheels. Woo! Good thing it was on the jack stands. Good. They could have been ugly. There we go. Good deal. The pump's kind of quiet. You see any leaks? Everything's shaking around with no leaks. Good deal. I'm happy. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. Get that stock tank in here, have some trunk room. I don't know how I want to say this. I don't want to slow the car down, even though it's not really for street and strip anymore with the 279 gears. But I could easily put a good stall converter and 456 gear back in it, and it turns some decent numbers. Put the better cam back in it. But I'm kind of wanting to keep it as fast as it is, maybe make it faster later. But all the stuff that was functioning on it when I drove it back and forth to high school, I'm kind of wanting all that in there working. That's why I put the stock tank back in it. And that's why I did the bias flat tires, because that's what I would have done in the 80s. And that's why I got the heater core hooked back up. Pretty much everything will be working on this car after I do the instrument cluster, hopefully, except for having a radio. And I guess we'll put a stereo in it this summer, hopefully. But I'm going to let this thing warm up. And in the next video, we'll get that instrument cluster in there and a speedo cable. My speedometer cable was bad, I think. And I ordered a new one, got to make sure it fits. And we'll do a video on that. Thanks for watching.